Okay, this is a tutorial. Let me turn the audio up a little bit here. There we go. This is a tutorial on songwriting, and it's totally unrehearsed. I'm really not sure what's going to come out of this. Might be something worth doing a song for. It may not. But we're going to see. There's some basic music theory I want to touch on here just so that I can put what I'm doing in context. If you don't like theory, then you can fast forwards or whatever. But essentially, there's a method for coming up with chord progressions. And I don't say formula because it's not a formula, it's a method. Starting with the key of C, which is no flats or sharps, you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, so I'll just do it on a piano I've loaded here. And I'm just doing this so you can see. I think this is more effective than letting you watch my hands on a keyboard. I have one right below me here, but anyway, this is about songwriting, not about how I play or whether I can play. So we'll just make a loop here, and I'm going to slow this down to say 80 just so it doesn't play too fast. And here's the major scale, all right? Okay, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So the way you build chords to find out what chords are available is you take every other note. So we start on the C, the root note, and we'll take the C, skip the D, take the E. So let's do a C, the E, and skip the F and go to the G. And you can see that makes a C major. Okay, so the way you find the next chord is you go to the next note. You take the D, you skip the, skip the E and go to the F, skip the G and go to the A, and you have D minor. And you do this the rest of the way up, and what you'll find is you got C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and back to C again. So basically the first chord, and the chords are numbered based on the notes of the scale. So C being 1 and D being 2 and so forth. So you have the 1, the 4, and the 5. So that's in this case, C, F, and G are major, and the rest are minor except for the B. That is a diminished. So you would just say 1, 4, and 5 are major, 2, 3, and 6 are minor, and then you had that oddball chord in there, B diminished, and that's not used a lot in just popular music writing. But so that's the whole idea where I'm coming from with this tutorial. Is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and the chords derived from the major scale. Okay, so if you're going to play in the key of G, you simply move this up or down, whichever you want to do. And now you have the major scale in the key of G, okay? And you build the chords the same way. So you have G major, A minor, and then the next would be B minor, and then you have C major, then D major, then E minor, then the F diminished, etc. So you work your way up through that in the same way. So the only idea I've got in my head at this point is 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I'm going to use the 4, 5, and 6 of G major to compose a song. And we'll just let it happen, and you're going to see this in real time, and I'll try to explain my reasoning. So we got a 4, 5, and 6. So let's, we know that a 4, 5, and 6, the 4, it would be, in G would be C, D, and then E minor. So let's build those chords. A C, or excuse me, yeah, a C major. And then we have a D minor, or a D major, excuse me. And then E minor. Okay, let's hear those chords now. And back to, let's go back to the C. And we'll hear that. Okay. So we have some basic chords. Let's copy those chords and see if we can't do a little bit of a variation. So let's do, I think they call it a plagal cadence, but let's do the F as a minor. All you do to get a minor is drop that note, and that should be, no wait, that's, I'm in the key of G. We're going to go to an F. Okay, so let's go to F. Oh, I'm mistaken. C minor. Trying to do it all in my head. I usually just pick up a guitar, so you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. So let's hear how that sounds cycled through. Okay, it sounded pretty good. I don't like the overall tone, though. It's kind of climbing, then it drops again. So I just invert this chord. And if you don't know what an inversion is, that would be a reason to learn some music theory. But essentially, you just start with a different bottom note on the same chord. So let's hear how that sounds. That one drops again. I don't like that either. So let's move this C up to a C up above. Now let's listen to it now. Here we go. Okay, that last change is kind of nice. It's a little different, but I don't know, maybe it would sound better inverted a second time. So let's take this D sharp and move it up to. Let's hear that. Let's hear the difference there. That sounds better. So I haven't changed the chord. I just changed what notes on bottom. Here we go. Okay, so that doesn't sound too awful bad. Okay, so we had some basic chords sounding there. I think it's a little fast. Let's slow it down and see if it sounds better slower. We need to finish that cycle out, so let's put the beginning chord. Now let's hear that again. Get back to the beginning. How about we do maybe we're at a C there. What's an intermediate chord? Maybe the D. And again, I'm doing all this on a keyboard, on a mouse and piano roll, so you can see what I'm doing. So what I've done is I've climbed all the way up to the G, and then I'm dropping back down to get back to the root chord. So let's hear if that sounds any good. I have no idea till I hear it. I messed that chord up. That should be a C, E, G. I missed it. Let's hear it. Well, I don't really like that right there. I just want to hear that part. I would usually do this on a guitar, but it goes much faster, but I'm trying to do this so the person that doesn't play instruments can see what I'm doing. I think maybe the idea would be to drop back to the root chord, which would be a G major. Undecided here. Let's try a note and see what I get. Invert it and see. Okay, all I did was take the same chord and invert it, which is the G, which is the 5. So let's take a listen now. Okay, that leads back into the beginning of the progression again. And it's basically a backbone for a song. I have no idea if it's going to be any good or not yet, but it is taking shape. So this is the right hand here. So let's add some left hand. We'll see how low this goes. That's too low. As you go lower, you add emotion. So we'll just follow the bass line here. And then E, and then G, and then G again, and then G again. So let's hear this now. I may have to change some of that. Okay, I heard a problem in there. Let's go here, take a listen. Now that's an E, G, and a C. So that's a C. And let's drop to the 5 and hear that. I don't really care for that. Let's go to the C. So this chord here is a G, C, and a D sharp. G, C, and D sharp. So that's a take this out. Let me hear that. That would be a C minor. Just want to hear that. And this one is a G, B, and D. That's a G major. So what if I tried the 5 on that first? Let's hear that. I like that better. It kind of keeps the movement going. It's not hanging on one sound. So let's hear that all the way through. Okay, that's not bad. Let's we got the left and the right hand, but it needs a little something in here. So let's just shorten this loop down to say 4. So we'll change it to 4 here. And let's okay, so let's add some right hand finger work in. I would do it on the piano, but I'll just keep it nice and simple. And we're just trying to make it more interesting of a track. So let's see here. First chord is C, and we're playing in the key of G, which would also be an E minor scale. So let's try that. That's the first two notes of an E minor pentatonic. Whoops, I got way off the... Here we go. So we're going to a D, which would be a D major, and so maybe we would do an F sharp and A. Let's hear that. That's nothing even challenging for a beginning pianist there. It'd be real easy. I never write anything that I can't play because that would be a mistake. I play my music, and if I write something, I better be able to play it. So that doesn't mean I can play it consistently enough to go out and do a performance in person, but in the studio, I can play things and stop and rewind if I mess up. So that's the only real advantage to studio work is you can get a mulligan or two if you're familiar with golf. So let's take this out a little further, and we'll put some fills in here. I'm hearing it come down from a high note here in my place where music lives. You'll hear me refer to that, but that's where the sound emanates from in my head. It's where music lives. So let's see, we've got an E minor. Yeah, we've got an E minor. So let's start with the B just to see if that's the tone that I'm hearing in my head. And I'm hearing it go up. Let's hear that. Let's hear how that sounds. Okay, just to make life simple, I'm just going to paste this, and then I can modify a little bit. I like the timing. I thought this might turn into a 6/8 song, but I think the 4/4 is working here just fine. So let's get it going and see what we get. Okay, that little phrase right there, I need to modify that. So I'm going to do that real quick like here. And let's just keep it out to the end, just so I can keep it in a context. Okay, I like that move there. And we're basically hitting a a G major, and a G major. So we're resolving back. So I think what I would do here, one thing I like to do on piano is to, rather than strike all three keys at once, I like to kind of arpeggiate them. It's more like a strum on a guitar. You play them a little bit off from each other. So I'm going to simulate that here. I don't think there's much value in you watching me play it. I just want to demonstrate the songwriting process. So I'm going to put a D note here. We'll invert it. And then we're going to hit a G real close to it. And then a B. Let's hear that. A little bit quick on the draw there. Let's do that. And let's invert it here. So let's pull this down and copy it. And then to invert it, we're just going to move it over a little bit. We'll take this top note. Now let's hear that. And since I'm striking the chord here, I can't really, if I'm playing, I don't have two right hands. So I can either bring this into that same mode, or I can leave the bottom note, or I can leave it as is. So I'm going to modify it to make it follow this pattern here and see how it sounds. So in this case, the bottom note would be on a D, which it is, but I'll move it up closer to the last chord. Okay, so it's closer to the last chord. Now I want to vary these start times, so it's more like if I rolled my right hand a little bit and kind of trilled it. Now let's hear how that sounds. Okay, I'm liking that. Let's go back here and do it from the beginning. And normally speaking, I would have an intro, and maybe once through the chord progression is a good intro. Depends on how interesting you make it. And let's start this right on the money here. Okay, so I've got the basis for a song. I think what I'll do is give it a little more atmosphere. There's a free plug-in out there. I don't know how many of you are into DAWs and plug-ins and all that, but the term reverb is pretty widely encompassing a whole lot. This is a freebie called Valhalla Supermassive, and it has a setting among the reverbs that I kind of liked. It's called Final Frontier. And I always adjust the mix to 100% because I use it on a bus. I don't need the dry signal to come through. And this feedback is how long does it reverberate. And I'm just going to play this and adjust that till I get it sounding spacious and really, really way out there. I think the term is bombastic. Here we go. Excuse me, getting my throat's a little dry. Now, I'm playing in the key of G major, so if you don't like theory, you can plug your ears or fast forward past this, but G major, the relative minor is E minor, so I can play a G major on a G minor flute, or I can play an E minor flute, and that is G major. I could also go to a D flute and play in mode 4, which would be G, and then I could make that major. Sometimes a minor can sound good across a major. So I've got several flutes that I can choose from that are pretty basic. It's not transposing. It's, I guess, fitting the key to the flute instead of the flute to the key. So probably the simplest one is E minor, because that plays in a G major automatically without doing any fancy fingering, cross fingering, or any of that. So at this point is where I would probably cut my my flute line, and I don't normally do that on camera because it just I don't know, I'm past the age of caring if I look cool or anything like that. I've played on stage since I was 16 years old, and I'm now 70, pushing 71. And I have just had all the stage exposure that I need in my life. So when I do a video, it's just so somebody can see me, the fingering maybe that I'm using, or I don't know. I am a big fan of just doing audio. But anyway, I'm just going to record some of my efforts to find a melody for this song. And it's trial and error. You just listen for notes that sound good. I'm going to add a little bit of reverb to this so that it sounds a little, let's see here. There we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Not that the flute needs reverb, but if your piano is in a big hall, then so should your flute be. If I'm sitting in a venue and there's a lot of reverb coming off the piano, it's also going to be coming off the flute. And I try to make all the instruments sound like they're in the same place, because if musicians are playing together, that's the way it does. If you go hear a band in a stadium, it's not just the lead guitar that has the reverb and the echo, it's the whole band. So anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So I'm going to let this play through while I search for some notes, and then I'll start trying to build a song. And usually I'll find a good melody, and that will become the theme for the song, and then I will, vary on that and build on that, do variations on that, sometimes just go off on a rabbit trail. But anyway, we'll see if this can turn into a decent sounding song. So I apologize for any bad notes ahead of time. Mission accomplished. I have put together a song. Okay, so now the question becomes, do I want to go into a part 2 or just keep it a long progression and just kind of play across it and let it build. As I'm playing this, I'm hearing, let me turn the reverb down here. It's just a little bit high here. I need to be able to see it, so let's go to all and turn this reverb down a little bit. There we go. So anyway, what I've demonstrated here is I started with the numbers 4, 5, 6, and I took that and applied it to the key of G major, and I figured out what chords go with G major. I put them in an order, and I threw in a minor there, a C minor, which would not be part of the key of G major, but it's what do you call them? A borrowed chord, and borrowed from a parallel scale or a parallel key. I don't know. I don't worry too much about the terms as long as I get my point across. In minor, you would have a C minor instead of a C major. So if you play the parallel scale or the parallel mode or key, you're going to have a C minor. So I borrowed that chord. You can get away with a whole lot. Theory doesn't set the rules. Theory explains what the musician did. So anyway, I hope this is helpful for somebody that maybe has a piano and wants to write some tracks. You can also make this into a guitar track if you want it. It's pretty simple. I'll show you, hopefully real easy. Let's see here. Hopefully this won't turn into a nightmare, but this is totally unrehearsed, and it's just occurring to me. I've got a whole bunch of guitar sounds. So let's use dynamic guitar. And now all we need to do is I could duplicate the track and have the piano and the guitar playing together. But in this case, what I think I'll do is go to the output of this track. It says it's going to the piano. I'm just going to move it to the guitar. And I don't think we go anywhere too low. No, we don't go too low, so let's hear it. It may actually be an octave too high, but let's hear what it sounds like. Obviously, guitar doesn't sound real good when it's played like a piano. So, but the point I'm trying to make here is, you can make this whatever instrument you want it to be. It might be interesting to have this. Be a harpsichord. Let's see if I can find a harpsichord here. Synth. Dimension Pro. This is I guess a bonus, an added bonus or something. And I think there's a harpsichord down here in the yeah, there's a harpsichord right there. So I load up a harpsichord program. Now let's hear it as a harpsichord. We need to go over here again to the piano track and move it to Dimension Pro. And let's hear what it sounds like as a harpsichord. It might be interesting. Okay. Maybe layered, but I like the piano sound. But the point I'm making is, as you're writing a song, you can come up with the instrumentation, and then you can play your real instruments, but you can figure out what you like the song to sound like. It's I have all my instruments. If you ever watched any of my videos, you can see I've got usually a bass guitar sitting handy. I've got a bunch of flutes that are laid on what I call my ready table, so I can grab any key for any song I want to play. I can grab a flute and play that flute. It's right there. If I turn around behind me, I've got an acoustic guitar, a 5-string bass, and also an electric guitar, my PRS. And I keep all that right within reach, so I'm not getting up and walking across the room and coming back, because sometimes an idea will get away from you. So anyway, this is Songwriting 101, starting with the scale, the key I'm going to play in, and then I built the chords. I added a little right hand interest and movement into the chord progression by using inversions. And all of this can be done without theory, but the basic theory behind scales and chords, how they work together, a basic understanding of that will take you miles and miles and miles in songwriting. So I appreciate your watching and taking the time to listen to this, and I hope you got something out of it, whether you're a beginner or an advanced musician. This is exactly how I write a song, although most of the time I have something in my head, in my spirit that I am hearing. In this case, I came up with the numbers 4, 5, and 6. And for me, 4, 5, and 6 is a sound. It's not numbers. I hear a sound and I know that it's 4, 5, 6. So they're kind of intermixed. But anyway, happy fluting, happy songwriting, and I hope this is of benefit to someone out there. Thank you.